All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about buying a car and some parts involved in that. So, essentially, what we're doing is we're still going to be using that TVM solver, and we're going to be finding the monthly payment. But to do that, we need to understand a few things in terms of some financial terminology. So, for one, when you hear about a purchase price, like when you go to the car dealership, that's the initial amount that you agree upon to buy the car before any additional costs are applied. So I did have some delta math of things like this, and it involves like down payments and things like that. So just understanding what it is you're actually taking a loan out for, and what these mean. So if you go to the car dealership and find a car that is listed for 45,000, and you're able to talk the salesman down to 42,000, that would be considered the purchase price. But when you pay it, like you have sales tax associated with that. So the sales tax is an additional cost imposed by the government on the sale of the vehicle, which are added to the purchase price. So the way you can determine the sales tax is take the purchase price and multiply it by the sales tax rate. So we're going to have to do a few smaller calculations before we can use the TVM solver. They're small, kind of basic, but it might seem kind of like a lot. It's really not. And then we're going to add these two things together. So the total sales price is the price after tax. So whatever you agree upon, the purchase price plus the sales tax gives us our total sales price like this. So you're going to be finding your total sales price after tax. And then a trade-in value is the amount of credit a dealer offers you from your old car when you buy a new one, which can be deducted from the sales price. So from your delta math, this is kind of almost like the down payment thing, except it's you don't really have to find a percent. It's just you take that off of what's left. So a down payment is the initial upfront payment made when purchasing a car, reducing the amount financed through a loan. So we've practiced some of this with Delta Math, like figuring out what your down payment is. Some places may say we require a percentage of a down payment, and other times they won't, and maybe you have extra money to put down. That alleviates the amount you have to finance, which is more money when you finance. It's more money that you have to pay in interest, right? So these are kind of decisions that you have to be made. That have to be made. Is like, do I want to really pay $5,000 out of my bank account to avoid paying more interest? Like, it may be in your financial best interest to do that or to not. Like, everybody's financial circumstances are different, and sometimes we can't avoid things. Like, it's you feel paying a down payment more if you're, especially if you're like putting 5,000 down on a car. You feel that more, right? That hurts a little more. You no longer have. I mean, it took a long time to get that $5,000, so you feel that more than if you were to not put as much down and they just add that onto your monthly payment. But in the end, over a course of time, the amount you pay, you're financing more, so therefore you end up paying more. So the smarter decision is to pay a bigger down payment, pay less interest because you're not financing as much. Financing is the process of obtaining a loan to purchase a car, which involves borrowing money from a dealer and paying it back over time, usually with interest. The amount to be financed is the total amount borrowed to purchase the car. So that's what we're going to be calculating, and that's what we're going to be using for our TVM solver. So the amount to be financed is the total sales price, which is the purchase price plus the taxes, minus anything that you used towards to take off of that. So that is going to give you your financed amount. Loan term is the length that you have. Typically on a car loan, it's somewhere between 36 and 72 months, and they typically talk about them in months instead of years, which is fine. It kind of helps us out maybe a little bit. Either way. And then a credit score, we've already talked about that. That's a numerical representation of your credit worthiness, which influences your ability to secure financing and interest rate you may receive. The interest we already talked about as well. It's the cost of borrowing money expressed as a percentage of the loan amount. It increases the total amount you will pay over the life of the loan. And then your monthly payment is the amount paid each month toward the car loan, which includes both principal and interest and is calculated based on the loan amount, interest rate, and loan term. So let's look at this example real quick. Suppose you go to the dealership and you decide to purchase a vehicle, that's listed at 41,000. You're like, I want this truck, or I want this car, and it's listed at 41,000. You don't even negotiate. You like it. You think it's a good price. So we need to know the sales tax in this area to find everything here as well. So the sales tax rate may be different in different areas. So I'm giving you the sales tax is 7%. You have a trade-in that's valued at 17,000 to put towards your new vehicle, and you're also just going to put down $1,000 out of your own payment. And then I want to determine your two different payment options based on your credit score of 676. Sorry. And then we're going to use that table that I'm going to show right here in a second. I guess I'll show it here in a second to determine our rate of return. So you need to pay attention to this because you're about to do something over the next 2 days involving this, and this is kind of your example on what to do. So if you're watching this video, this is a grade. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do what I'm about to ask you to do, and then you're going to do it on your own. Okay, so I'm going to kind of put it in table format to make it a little easier to read. But we're going to start with our purchase price, and we're going to get this number down to our amount to be financed, because that's the number that we need to use our TVM solver so we can find our monthly payment. Because our TVM solver, I don't care about that purchase price because that's not what I'm financing. I'm paying interest on everything else that I'm getting a loan on. Like, so the loan is not 41,000. The loan is the 41,000 plus the sales tax minus the trade-in value and any down payment that I put in. So 41,000 is my purchase price. I have a sales tax of 7%. So I'm going to calculate 7% of 41,000 by doing 41,000 times 0.07, and that gives me an amount of $2,870 is what I'm paying in tax for this vehicle. So if I add those two things together, that gives me my total sales price. So not huge calculations, right? But you should definitely be writing this down as a guide in your notes, because like I said, you're going to be doing this on your own in a second, and it's going to be a grade. Next, we're also told, so that's our sales price. And then sometimes there's other fees and stuff associated with that, but I'm keeping this with just purchase price and sales tax. And then we're also told that we have a trade-in value of 17 grand, and I'm also going to put $1,000 in out of my account. So all of that's going to be taken off of that total sales price and given credit to me. So now I only owe $25,870, but I don't have that in cash. Otherwise, I might have paid that. So I'm going to finance that through the dealership at a rate based off of my credit score. So here's the table that we're going to use for our credit score. So I don't remember what I said my credit score was, 6 something, maybe 680. So this is my table. This is not like a standard thing. Like, this is just kind of like made up numbers. So anyways, don't go to the dealership and say, my math teacher said that I have to get this interest rate. That's not that. Okay. So, but using our credit score, your salesman is going to go and they're going to run your credit. They're going to look at your credit score and see what it is, and they're going to come back with maybe a couple options for you. So the two options are our credit score was, I don't remember what it was. It was in this range. It was good. So our two options are 4% at 48 months or 5% at 60 months. So let's figure out what our actual car payment is now that we know what we're being financed. So remember, we are going to be, we're trying to find out monthly payments. So we're going to be making monthly payments. So, and on car payments and mortgage payments and things, if I don't give you a compounded amount, you're just doing that for 12 months. So you probably won't necessarily see like how much the interest is compounded necessarily. So we're gonna do however many payments you're gonna be making here. So normally I would say 48 months is 4 years, and I would do 12 times 4 to get 48. So really, that is just how many payments that you're making. And that's the way it's been since we've been doing this. But most of the things we've been told have been, it would say it would say something like 4 years instead of 48 months. And then, so anyways, this is given to us in months, so we don't need to do any type of conversion. Our interest rate for 4% is going to be just 4. Our present value is the amount of the amount to be financed. So we're borrowing this, right? We're not investing this. We're borrowing that. So this is going to be a positive. I'm trying to find my PMT. My future value, meaning I want this after 48 months. My future value, I should owe nothing. So my future value should be 0. My PY, I'm making 12 payments a year. And compounded, I'm just going to leave that as 12 as well. And those are going to match for the purpose of this, because I don't specify that. And then we're going to go up to alpha enter on PMT now and find out what our monthly payment is. So our monthly payment for a $41,000 car, I'm financing $25,870 of it at 4% for 48 months. It's only 2 years. 4 years. It's $584.12. The other option is I can pay for longer, but my interest rate's going to be more. So my payment should be less here, but I'm going to be paying more in interest. So let's look at that scenario. Here, I'm making 60 payments. My interest rate is 5%. My present value is still going to be the same thing, and it's going to be positive. My future value after 5 years or 60 months, my future value, I should owe nothing. And then my PY and CY should both be 12, and my payment should be at the end. So alpha enter is going to give me $488.20. So we can see that, yes, our payment is about $100 less a month. But if I were to multiply 488.20 by 60, which I might do, I don't know if I do that. No, I don't do that. You can see the amount of difference. If I were to take, because all I'm paying is $488.20, and I'm doing that 60 times. I'm paying that 60 times. So if we were to multiply that, we can see how much that is based off of how much I borrowed, comparing that to the amount to be financed, and that would give us how much we spend in interest, right? And I can do that for both of these, but we don't do that for this one. So this is where your grade comes in. Today you're going to be simulating this car buying experience by getting with a partner. So this is going to be a partner. You each are going to have your own individual grade, and we're going to more than likely do this day 1. We're going to do it one way, and day 2 we're going to switch roles. But today you need to decide with that, before I say anything about this, who's going to be the salesman and who's going to be the buyer. And you're going to be simulating this car buying experience. And the purpose of this activity is to learn how to apply your financial knowledge in a realistic setting, making complex financial ideas more tangible. So in class, I would give you a minute. If you are not at school today, you need to come see me about how to make this up, and you and another person can do it that was not here or whatnot. So what I'm going to have you guys do is the buyers are going to come get what's called a buyer's card, and that buyer's card is going to have some things on it, and then you're going to sit at the desk away from the sellers. So on your buyer's card, you will see the following stuff. So your buyer's card is going to have your age, your credit score, whether or not you have a trade-in with its value, your preferred vehicle type, the maximum monthly payment you can afford. And so when the buyers get your card, take note of what your card says. Mark what type of vehicle you're interested in, whether it's a car, truck, SUV, etc. And then what you're going to do is now, after I'm done talking, you're going to go and you're going to get your Chromebooks out. You're going to search the internet for the specific type of vehicle that you want. Use local dealerships like Grapevine Toyota or someplace over here and search those. Don't look at Facebook Marketplace and get some individual buyer or seller. Like, it needs to be from a dealership. And you should note things like purchase price and mileage that you find on there. So in class, I would be talking to the salesman next. So while I'm talking to the salesman, the buyer should be looking at a few options with different price points in case you get there and you realize, I can't afford this, because you should be considering this with your maximum monthly payment. If your seller comes back and they cannot give you your maximum monthly payment, under no circumstance are you able to buy that vehicle. Okay, so you're either going to have to negotiate terms, or you're going to have to pick another car. So you need to have like a plan B. This is not like a dream car scenario. Okay, and you're done when seller sells you the car because they get you within that monthly payment that you want. So, anyways, so that's what the buyers are going to be doing. Now I'm going to be talking to the salesman. So the salesmen have a salesman sheet. I don't have it shown on this thing, but I'm going to talk like I have it labeled on what I'm going to do. And I also have these kind of instructions on the back. So the idea that I want to have happen is I want y'all to actually engage in dialogue and embrace this kind of experience because it's real. Like you will more likely have to go and sit down face to face in front of a salesman, and you may or may not have things go like one way every time, but either way, we're going to practice that today. So the salesman sheet is going to include some customer information such as their name. So this is what I'm going to be taking and collecting as a grade. The customer's name needs to be printed on there so I know who it is. The salesman is going to write their name at the bottom of the sheet and print their name. And then you're going to write, basically, you're going to engage with the customer on what their preferred vehicle type is, the year, and then they're over searching for vehicles right now. So when they find one, they should already have a year, make, and model of this specific vehicle, along with the miles on the vehicle. And you're going to fill that in for the vehicle information with the purchase price, sales tax, trade-in value, down payment, amount to be financed, credit score, table of credit ratings, monthly payment options, and so on and so forth. So what the salesman's going to do is you're going to wait on your buyer to show up, and you're going to make sure when they come over to you that you're going to greet them something like professional. Hey there, thank you for coming in today. What kind of vehicle you're looking for? And this is where your dialogue begins. So I kind of have a guide here for you that I'm just going to kind of run through real quick. Start by asking the customer their name. Make sure you fill it out on the sales sheet. Ask what type of vehicle they're looking in getting in. Fill it on the sales sheet. Ask them if they have already found a vehicle that they want, and then they should have. Then start filling out the vehicle information, specifying if they're trying to purchase, such as the year, make, and model of the vehicle, as well as the miles and the purchase price. So these are all things that you should be writing down based off a discussion. Okay, you can even choose to say something like, "Oh, wow, that's an amazing car. I love that car," or something. And so that's all kind of dialogue. You should be asking this. I don't want y'all to be just handing over your card and not talking. So you should be talking and asking and role playing this scenario, and then you're gonna calculate the sales tax. So we're gonna use the sales tax of 6.25%. So you would want to make sure you write that down, and that's going to be of the purchase price. Write it down on the sheet, and then calculate the total sales price of the vehicle and write it on your sheet. So this is what we just went over. We start with the purchase price, we calculate the sales tax, and then we look at the total sales price and we write that down. And I have that listed for you in order, in the same order that that last example we went over was at. Ask them about what monthly payment do they need to stay below. That's on their card. I don't want them handing it to you and just writing it down. Ask if they have another car to use as a trade-in towards the purchase price, and then ask if they have a down payment other than their trade-in, and fill these out in your sheets. Once again, this is dialogue that y'all should be communicating with. Calculate the amount to be financed and confirm this amount with the customer. So when you're done, you should say, okay, I have you financed. I have you to where you would still owe this. Now let's talk about financing options. So tell them you need to run a credit check to determine what interest rate and term they are eligible for. Collect the credit score from the customer and write this down on the sell sheet. And then you're going to tell the customer you'll be right back. So typically when that happens and you come back with something, the salesman steps away, they go and run some numbers, and then come back and say, this is what I can do. Okay, so that's what the salesmen are going to do. You're going to act like that. You're going to engage in that. So let's see. When you finish, go to an empty desk, calculate the monthly payment using the TVM solver. So you're using their credit score, and then you'll be given two options, just like I showed you on my example. You need to calculate both of those based off of their credit score, and then go back to the customer and let them know these are your two options that I have. If either of these options are less than the amount they said they would be comfortable with, you can close that deal and make the sale. And the reason why is because it's the car they want at a price they can afford. And you can let them know that. and then you would finish the project, and you don't have to do anything else except sign, date, um, and then have the customer fill out the survey. If, on the other hand, the monthly payment you calculated was more than what the customer afforded, then it's time to negotiate. With cars, there's some negotiation sometimes. When the customer says they can't afford that, because I've instructed them to say that, uh, let them know that you will go speak with your manager, which is me, and I will give you a negotiation card. Before going back to the customer, you need to do any necessary recalculations. Based off of this, you might have something like, we'll give you an extra $2,000 towards your trade-in value. So if their trade-in value is $17,000, you're going to erase $17,000 and put $19,000, and then you're going to have to recalculate some things. And so you're going to want to go and do that before you go back to the customer. You're also going to write the negotiation on the negotiation part of the sheet. And then go back and negotiate with or go back and let them know the updated thing and explain to them what changed and what you can do for them. Ask them how that sounds. If the amount is less than the comfortable monthly payment, you should be able to make this sale. You're done. If it's still too much, you have one more negotiation before you have to pick another vehicle. Or you can decide to go with another vehicle if you know that you're way off. So if the amount is still more than the comfortable payment, you can suggest one more negotiation. Do the exact same thing you just got done doing from the first one. Notate anything that negotiation card says. Update it. You're going to have to redo the TVM solver again with the new numbers, with the new finance amount. Everything is going to change your financing amount, which is going to change your PV value on the TVM solver. Or you can ask if the customer had another vehicle in mind that may be closer to something that you think that they can afford. If they choose another vehicle, you will need to get another salesman sheet and fill out that completely with the new vehicle information and redo all the calculations again, by the way. Repeat this process until you sell the car by getting the monthly payment at or below the customer's comfortable monthly payment. Do not throw away an old sales sheet if you had to use another one because you had to use a different car. Staple it to the back of the final sales sheet. Then you and your customer both need to sign and date the sales sheet, and then ask the customer to rate their experience today on the sales sheet. Salesman, you need to make sure you print your name down at the bottom as well. So I should have your customer's name printed at the top, your name printed at the bottom, both of y'all sign and date at the bottom as well. Then you're going to turn this sales sheet into me for a grade. And that is it. And then tomorrow, you're going to switch roles. Have fun.